Before I start on today's actual podcast, I came up with an answer to my own question as to why Wolverine doesn't have adamantium-covered teeth. And I realized it actually came really suddenly. Someone on the internet suggested that Wolverine should actually be donating his organs because he regenerates them quickly enough. He doesn't die. He could basically just regenerate a liver every day and donate livers constantly, saving hundreds, if not thousands, of lives. Same for bone marrow and basically anything in the human body, which would be great. But that also made me realize that when you're covering a full skeleton in adamantium, you're probably going to knock all the guy's teeth out. I mean, it can't be a gentle process. So basically, I realized probably his teeth got knocked out and then they regenerated because that's part of his abilities. And as they regenerate, they're not going to regenerate covered in adamantium. So they would just look like normal teeth. So there you go. Give me a couple weeks and I come up with my own answers. I would like to introduce English-speaking audiences to a couple of kids' cartoons, Japanese kids' cartoons, specifically, because they are weird. Kids' cartoons are particularly weird because when you sort of approach them from a logical standpoint, you start to look at the structure of the world that's been created. And you actually always come up with some terrifying results. So I'd like to look at two Japanese kids' cartoons. That might take a little longer because I'll have to introduce the concepts of the cartoon first and then talk about the problems. And then maybe one or two Western ones. But first I'd like to start with the biggest Japanese very young kid superhero called Ampanman. And that means like bread guy. And his head is made of bun filled with red bean paste. All the main characters' heads are based off some kind of baked good. So this was started in 1973, the comic, and it ran till 2013, which was quite recent when the author died. So it's a very long run. In 1988, the television show started, and it has been run consistently. It is one of the most popular shows for kids in Japan. Ampanman is consistently ranked as one of the most popular characters for kids under 12 years old. So the basic premise is that Ampanman is a hero in this world. Most of the characters in the world are anthropomorphic animals. There are some fruit-based people, and there's only one or two actual humans in the cartoon. The baker who actually makes Ampanman's head, because you can actually take off his head and swap it out. A couple of his powers are he can feed his head to people when they're hungry, but if his head gets eaten, he gets weaker. If his head gets dirty, he loses his strength. So the baker can then replace his head. And he's been attributed to be generous and friendly to everyone. That's the basic premise of Ampanman. And it's absolute crap. What kids are not realizing is what they're actually witnessing is a totalitarian dictatorship of sorts, where the most powerful person in this world basically decides who does and who does not get food. I first noticed that there was no authority structure. There's no police, there's no military, there's no government oversight, there's no voting. It is literally just Ampanman by himself decides yes or no, you are good, you are bad, you are for the cause or against the cause, you're part of the problem, you're part of the solution. He is an absolute dictator. In this world, he has an antagonist, and his name is Biking Man. Now, Biking Man translates into Bacteria Man. His manifesto is that he's going to cover the world in bacteria, but if you actually think about it, it already is. You have bacteria all over your body and everything. So he's essentially been successful. Biking Man spends most of his time trying to steal the food that Ampanman is delivering to other people. And then Ampanman promptly beats the crap out of him. It's always a little bit more complicated because Biking Man will build a machine, and that machine will hurt Ampanman, and then he'll switch heads and he'll punch him, or his friends will come and support him. But essentially, the result is almost always the same, where Viking Man loses the fight and he gets punched into the sky. For all the claims of kindness and generosity, it has never occurred to Ampanman to just give Viking Man some food, which would essentially solve the problem. So Ampanman sees this character who disagrees with him, who doesn't like his methodology, and then refuses to give him food. When that person tries to survive, Ampanman then physically assaults him in an extreme fashion. As a side note, and 100% seriously, Ampanman is not something you should show to kids, because what happens is the kids watch the show, and if there's more than one in the room, one of the kids will turn around and do the punch, which is what Ampanman says when he does his strongest punch, and then the kid decks whoever else is in the room. And I've seen this happen more than once. It is actually a demonstration that violence is a solution to all problems and is not a message we should be sending to children. So yes, on a comedic level, Ampanman is terrible. But I actually believe that in real life, Ampanman is terrible and you should not show it to your children.